Hello everyone, now we move on to Unit 2 of Class 6 History. In the previous video, we learned about the basics of the past in the Unit 1. Today our topic is from hunting gathering to growing food. First, let's understand who were hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers were the people who hunted animals for food. They also gathered fruits, nuts, roots, and other edible plants from the forest. They did not stay in the one place permanently. Instead, they kept moving from one place to another. Why did they move so often? If they stayed too long in one place, they would finish all the available food there. So animals themselves moved in the search of the smaller prey or for grass and leaves, and hunters had to follow them. Now, different plants and the trees bore fruits in different seasons. So people had to move to get seasonal food. That's why they not stay in the single places. They will move from place to place in search of the food and to get their prey. Okay. Now, next topic is how do we know about these people? The archaeologists have discovered the tools they used. They made tools from stone, wood, and bone. Among these, stone tools have survived the best. These tools were used for cutting meat and bones and scraping bark from the trees and digging roots and chopping woods. Okay, now look at this image of the tools. It shows how early humans made use to them. Okay, now let's see the map given in your book. It shows the important prehistoric sites of Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Megalithic, and early villages. This is very important for exams. For example, sometimes UPSC or other exams may ask, Bhimpbekta belongs to which period? Many people confuse it as Neolithic, but the correct answer is Paleolithic. Okay, so remember, knowing which site belongs to which period is very important. Now, finding about the fire. Archaeologists have found traces of ash at some sites. This tells us that people in ancient times had discovered the use of fire. They might have used it for cooking food, providing warmth, or scaring away the animals. So by studying tools, sites, and traces of fire, we understand how our ancestors lived, moved, and survived. So this gives us the overall picture of how people in those times lived and how they got their food and how they valued it and how they managed to survive for long periods. But remember, we cannot suddenly find out everything about the past. It is not like opening a book and getting direct answers, right? Instead, archaeologists and historians have to search carefully by piece every single day. For example, a trace of ash can tell us the fire was used. A broken bowl or the stone tool can reveal how food was cooked or stored. Even a small piece of bone can tell us what animals were hunted or eaten. So all these small discoveries together gives us the big picture of survival in ancient times. That is why the study of traces, tools, and sites is so important for us today. Now let's look at the timeline of the prehistoric period. That is, the Paleolithic period extended from about 2 million years ago to around 12,000 years ago. The Paleolithic is further divided into lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic. But in your textbook, we mainly study about the upper Paleolithic period in detail. Don't worry, the other divisions we will discuss in the later videos. And now, from 12,000 to 10,000 years ago, we have the Mesolithic period, and stone tools of this period were generally tiny. So these are called as the microliths. Okay, in here micro means small and lith means stone. That's why we call as microliths. After 10 years ago, we enter the Neolithic period, and this is a very important stage because people started farming and domesticating the animals. It marks the beginning of the settled life also. So now, about 12,000 years ago, something big happened. The climate of the world slowly became warmer, and because of this warm climate, in many places the big green grassland started to appear. Now where there is a grass, there will be animals, and so animals like deer, antelopes, goats, and sheep began to increase in the numbers. Now, the hunters who were followed these animals now started to watch them closely to how they eat and where they move and what they like. And slowly humans thought, instead of always running after them, why don't we keep them with us? They thought like that. So this is how the idea of taming animals started. To attract them, people sometimes left food near their shelters. Do you know which was the first animal to be tamed? That is ancestor of the dog. Okay, and this was the beginning of farming and the herding. Now, on the next topic, that is a new way of life. Now, once people started growing plants, their lives changed completely. Earlier, they used to move from place to place, but now they had to stay in one place for longer periods because crops need care, right? They had to water the plants, remove weeds, or protect the crop from the animals. And when they harvested grains, they also had to store them safely. So people made big clay pots to keep the grains. Now at this stage, people started building houses. Some were even dug into the ground for safely. So they also made a new types of stone tools. These were sharper, polished, and stronger than the earlier ones. And because of these polished tools, this period is called as the Neolithic Age. That's the New Stone Age. Okay. Now, a closer look of life in Meghar. Now let's look at the very important site, the Meghar near the Bolan Pass. Okay, that is the main route into the Iran. Here the people learned to grow wheat and barley. Now, archaeologists also found the bones of animals like deer, pigs, and fowls, which tells us about their food habits. But the most interesting thing is about burials. That is, when people died, their families buried them with food items. Why? Because they believed that maybe there is a life after death and that person will need food in the next world. Isn't that fascinating way to see how their beliefs were growing along with their lifestyle? So the climate became the warm, the grassland appeared, right? Then animals also increased, the humans tamed them, then farming was begun, the people stayed longer in one place, they built houses, made new tools, and even started the new beliefs of life and death also. So, if we look at the overall picture, this whole chapter is really the story of big transformation, right? In the beginning, humans were just hunter-gatherers. They moved from place to place, hunting animals and collecting fruits, nuts, and roots. Life was uncertain, but today they had food, tomorrow maybe not, right? But then slowly the climate changed. Warm weather brought grassland, and grasslands brought more animals, and humans began to observe and learn. They started to tame and began with the dog, their first companion. Next came the idea of farming. Then people realized that they could grow plants instead of only searching for them. This was the real turning point. And with farming, life itself changed. The people stayed longer in one place. They built houses and they made pots to store grain. And they created polished stone tools for farming and daily use. They even developed a new belief like burying the dead with food for the next life. So from simple wandering hunters, from slowly become the settled farmers and herders. This is what not one day's change. It took thousands of years, but this change laid the foundation of the world we live in today. I hope you enjoyed this simple explanation, and if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more such friendly lessons. Now take care and see you in the next video.